Hello guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the debut episode of All Things Metal with David Claar. My name is David Claar, I am your host, and today with me I have Steven Bonesaw De Leon. How are you doing today, Steven?
Pretty good, kind of tired.
Kind of tired? Okay. Well then, if you're tired, let's go ahead and get this in. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. So a couple big things that we want to review for the month of November. Every episode we are going to be going over stuff that happens in the world of metal each month, whether it be new albums, bombshell announcements, tours, anything like that. So first things first, big announcement actually made this morning. System of a Down announces that they are going to be writing a new album. I honestly wasn't surprised. Were you?
Not really, especially with the political stuff going on lately.
Exactly, especially with last night being the election of Donald Trump into office. I'm not surprised that they would wait till today to announce that their new album. System of a Down is going on tour in Europe next year. So with a new album, more than likely a new United States tour. I know they were just announced to headline Download UK, one of the biggest metal festivals in London, England, the UK of all time. So I'm really excited. I'm a big System of a Down fan for a really long time. So I'm really excited to hear more about that. Of course, the band themselves did confirm it, nobody else. A couple of things also coming out this month. We have Metallica's Hardwired to Self-Destruct scheduled to release on November 18th. I'm really excited for it. What about you? You have any comments?
I can't wait for it. I mean, it sounds like what I've heard so far, like their old stuff. They're bringing back a lot of heavy aspects that they used to have.
They really are, and I gotta say that their playing sounds a lot cleaner. It sounds more polished than Death Magnetic for sure. Especially with Lars. To me, he sounds like he's playing metal or drums like a man now. Without that one nut weighing him down, he has some speed on the pedals now. But yeah, their self-titled track, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, fucking fantastic, really great. It was just insane. It really blew me away, especially that it was just kind of announced without any hype built up for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it still took off. So that's coming November 18th. The next episode will definitely be reviewing that album and going more in depth with the creativity that really went into it. They've been putting a lot of thought into it, and they say that it's going to go back to their sounds of Kill 'Em All, their first album. So which I'm really excited. An album that actually just came out recently was Avenged Sevenfold's new The Stage album. And honestly, the title track, The Stage, they released the music video before the album came out. And I gotta say, The Stage was really awesome, but reviewing the actual album itself, I wasn't really feeling it. No. I couldn't get into it at all.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about that or going into it?
I mean, it kind of, it would have been a little bit better if they hyped it up. It was a surprise album, if you remember that. It was just randomly announced, it's gonna come out next week, or something like that. The Stage was a really good song. The music video makes it about 10 times better. The music video was really great to tell the story. And I listened to the album, and there was a few songs that I really did like, but all in all, I couldn't just listen to it and relax. It was kind of eh.
I don't know. To me, it would go back and forth between heavy and slow.
Yeah.
And they did that off their last album, Hail to the King, which I honestly didn't like as well. The last Avenged Sevenfold album for me that I enjoyed was Nightmare.
Yeah.
That album was really fantastic. It was really heavy, really destructive, and I really liked it. For me, I actually watched the live stream. They actually performed that concert on the top of Capitol Records. I tuned into it because I thought it was going to be an actual full-length concert. They opened up with Nightmare, which of course is probably now their most common opening up track.
Yeah.
Then they went into The Stage, already kind of knew the lyrics a little bit, was jamming along to it. Then they played another song off the album, and then it said, that was it, and then it was The Stage out now. So I was like, oh wow, let me go ahead and tune into this, and I'm really, really disappointed.
Yeah.
The album sales actually, I was looking into it, they haven't been selling. They're actually a little bit disappointed that the album hasn't been selling as successful as they thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Really unfortunate, but hopefully, because I know they just got out of a big record label scandal with Capitol Records, or with the Warner Brothers, excuse me. So that was a pretty tough situation. But hopefully they can resolve that, and hopefully a new tour will bring kind of new life to Avenged Sevenfold.
It's kind of hard, though. I mean, you can't just have a surprise album out of nowhere. Metallica had a surprise song, Hardwired, out of nowhere, out of the blue. I was just sitting on YouTube one day, and it said, posted a day ago, Metallica. I was like, oh, what is this? Let me check it out. And I jammed the fuck out, and then I realized they're coming out with, something random. Which is good. It still had hype to it. It built everybody to get excited. The Stage, it was just hey, new song the stage got released. Oh, and surprise, the album's coming out already.
Right.
Like it had no hype built to it, and nobody like to show other people. You know, it was just like, hey, have you heard it? It came out already. Oh, all right, no, it's all right.
Totally agree on that aspect. Another big thing for the month of November, we actually have Black Sabbath's final U.S. show in San Antonio, Texas, of all places, this Saturday, November 12th. I am actually fortunate to be there. I'm going to be going. Really excited to see. Hopefully, they'll bring out a lot of their good old deep cuts, especially for the last U.S. show. They're actually ending their career, Black Sabbath as a whole, in their home country of England, which I don't blame them. They're going to be closing it out over there. Really excited to be going. I wish you were going because, you know, it's Black Sabbath. We've been jamming them since we were kids, essentially, since we were kids. And so I'm really excited to see that. Will be reviewing the concert. I'll probably be posting something on the Facebook page, All Things Metal with David Claar. Look out for that. Definitely will be reviewing it in detail now. Also, another big, which I think is another big, that's coming out later this month, is a 6 a.m.'s Prayers for the Blessed Volume 2. If you're not aware of 6 a.m., that is Nikki Sixx's solo band. They're really good powerhouse. They're kind of under the radar right now, but they are really, really big. I was actually fortunate to see them at River City Rock Fest, and they actually did a really good set. Really, really good set. And of course, with the whole Life is Beautiful, you know, biography that he put out, you know, it was really fantastic. So that's kind of what we got going so far in the month of metal. Nothing too big, nothing too crazy, but that's essentially it for right now. Let's go ahead and get into the topic of the month. Each episode we will have a topic that will be discussed in detail. And this month's topic is underappreciated or unappreciated metal bands within the history of metal. Essentially, what we're just going to be discussing is bands who we feel either didn't get commercial success but did have those deep underground hits, or bands that are just under the radar that doesn't really have a big fan base but should, which in our opinions should be, you know, really big. So Steven, I don't know if you want to kick this topic off. You got a band you want to talk about?
I mean, the first one I wanted to bring up, because I like to show a lot of friends this band they're not really familiar with, is Brujeria. Really good band. They speak Spanish, of course, but like what I like about them is how heavy they are, and they always have a topic to talk about, like being how bad some like leaders are. You know, they always talk about what's that guy's name from Narcos?
Pablo Escobar.
They talk about him. They talk about, you know, just things in general. I know they made a Trump song like everyone else recently, which was actually pretty good. I mean, I don't really hardcore pick sides, but it was a really good song for what they're, you know, the point they were trying to make.
Of course, and I know their latest album, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, and I also can't pronounce it because I will butcher that to like all hell. But they just came out with an album back in September. Oh, it's a Pocho Aztlan. I can't even say that.
Yeah, I feel you.
But it just came out. They actually had a really heavy track, which I feel is the biggest track on it, Plato o Plomo. Really huge. If you saw the music video, it came out along with the album. And the music videos was so fucking brutal. It actually had real life pictures and videos of the actual cartel and the executions and everything, and it was crazy. It was super fucking bloody. But yeah, Brujeria, they've been around since the 90s. If I'm not mistaken, they have some pretty big names in their lineup as well. They have someone from Faith No More, right?
Yes, Faith No More, Fear Factory, Dead Kennedys, a lot of like, you know, famous people make cameos in there to play guitar, drums, you know, and a lot of people don't know that, especially because, you know, it's an unappreciated, underrated band.
And if I'm not mistaken, didn't you? I think you were telling me a while back that your dad actually saw them open with Cannibal Corpse, or?
Yeah, he said he saw them a while back. I mean, they're pretty old, and yeah, he said that it was all right. It wasn't his cup of tea. You know, my dad's really old school. Just likes Cannibal Corpse, Slayer.
Yeah.
You know, like how the people liked back then. But I think they're a really good band, despite what he thinks.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Brujeria, if you haven't heard of them, go check them out. A couple of the bands that Steven actually got me or started bringing me on to is this band called Deer and Grey. All right, did I say that right?
Deer and Grey?
Deer and Grey, okay. Yeah, go in depth with them, man. That's a band that you were telling me about. Pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. They have some really heavy songs. Basically, when you see the lead singer, He's like the Marilyn Manson equivalent to the Japanese metal scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way he makes his contacts, the way he acts, he does some pretty crazy, brutal stuff, and he sings from the heart. But when they do their metal song, like Obscure, that one of my top favorites, you can hear like the heaviness of the guitar, the drums, the way they put it together was so amazing. Not to mention the shock value in the music video was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And keeping with the theme of both underrated, and now that you brought that up, Japanese, I do gotta say, Baby Metal. They blew up really big, but I honestly feel like I think they're not treated or respected that much within the metal community because there are 3 Japanese little girls.
Yeah.
And but they can fucking wail, man. Like, they're really good.
Yeah. Just like how they got the respect from Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie, Rob Halford also mentioned his interest in the band and everything like that. Metallica supported them, or they're really big Metallica fans. I know that for sure. But Baby Metal, they're really heavy. Their last album that just came out in April, I think the Fox God or something like that, something associated with the Fox God, which is who they give their thanks to. Really, it's crazy. It sounds like a friggin', like, I don't know, it sounds like thrash to me. Like, it has that thrash influence on there.
Yeah.
Another band too, definitely one of our biggest, and definitely what bonded us as kids when we first met, King Diamond. He is, honestly, King Diamond, he's the lead singer of the band, of his self-titled band.
Yeah.
He's also from the band called Merciful Fate. He was the lead singer of that band as well.
Of course.
He had really big success, which Merciful Fate is another underappreciated band in itself, which Merciful Fate and King Diamond, inspired so many bands, throughout the 80s, because they are early 80s. And so, they don't have that much popularity, I guess, amongst, like common, or what do you call it, like casual metal fans.
Yeah,
there we go.
Casual listeners. Metal.
Yeah, it's like, but like my dad was a huge King Diamond fan, which is how I got into it. Which is, you told me how you got into it as well. But when I saw them, I was able to see King Diamond twice. I saw him in Dallas at the House of Blues, and I saw him again at the Rockstar Energy Drink Mayhem Fest. And you could tell the people that were there for King Diamond were King Diamond fans. They knew every single lyric to every single song, jamming them just like me, freaking getting into it, Grandma!
Yeah.
and it was crazy, and I'm glad that King Diamond has that fan base that appreciates him. But I just feel that so many bands gave him credit for inspiring them, but yet they don't bring him on tour. They don't mention him that much, and King Diamond's just kind of there.
Definitely.
That's definitely someone that you guys should check out. He'll definitely be mentioned throughout the entire series, All Things Metal. He's one of my favorite bands. I love him. He's also one of my favorite singers of all time.
I respect the hell out of him just because he's so like old already, but he's, if I'm not mistaken, last time I checked, he never had vocal surgery.
He never did. No. He had some issues with his heart.
Of course.
A couple years ago. But I mean, no, his vocals and his range is just so fantastic.
Yeah.
He does the growls, in some of his songs. He'll go down low, but then he can still get super high in person as well. His voice, I don't know if he does drugs, but I know. But I know his voice can still get so high. And his vocals and live in concert are fantastic. Second to none.
Yeah.
Speaking of also with live vocals, a band called Wasp. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with them, but they're pretty big to me. Me and my dad, Blackie Lawless, the lead singer, he's another guy. Wasp is more of a kind of an obscure shock metal band.
Yeah.
They're known for their crazy antics on stage. They actually have a lot of pyrotechnics. But what they do, which was pretty offensive, they had like gelatin fetuses, and they blow them up on stage. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, as a kid watching that, like, holy shit. Like, when YouTube, like, first came out, like, just clicking on everything. Wasp is a really underappreciated band. They back in the 80s, they were scandaled a lot with the PMRC, with the censorship groups. For their music, they had some pretty vulgar language in their content. Pretty crazy band. But speaking of crazy bands, Devil Driver. I think with the decline of death metal music nowadays, especially in today's metal age, I would say there is a huge decline and a huge need for death metal.
Yeah.
And you have a band like Devil Driver that is keeping death metal relevant. You know, they have so many good hits. They have quite a bit of a discography under their belt, and they're keeping death metal alive, which I do give them a lot of props. And then a couple other bands, too, staying along the death grind kind of feel. Morbid Angel.
Yeah.
What are your comments about Morbid Angel?
I love them, honestly. When I was a kid, first song, of course, I heard was God of Emptiness. And just watching it as a kid, you know, I was like in a Catholic school at that time. I was young, and seeing like the priest turn into like a demon type, you know, with the wings and him arguing with the devil. I was like, geez, this is like pretty metal, you know. And at the time, I was barely getting into like Slipknot, stuff like that. This was back in like 03, 04, way before then, you know, like System and Slipknot.
Yeah.
And that's when I was finding metal music, and Morbid Angel was one of the first. Because when I heard the drum check, also, I don't know if you've heard that song.
No, I think you showed me before in the past, but yeah, I mean, fucking Morbid Angel, definitely well respected within the metal community itself. But again, they're just one of these bands that just don't have a lot of play, don't get a lot of mention, which is kind of terrible, because there's actually, I mean, we can go on and on and on for hours and hours and hours, listing every single band and everything that we feel need to have more recognition.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what the topic of this episode is today. But I definitely want to keep it on these bands that definitely do need more recognition. Another band, which I feel this may be out of left field, but the band called Stryper. He's laughing at me right now, but Stryper, if you're not aware of them, they are an 80s Christian metal band.
Yeah.
And just with that being alone said, a Christian metal band, that's the reason why they weren't successful. Because you got to think about it. We were just talking about Morbid Angel, priests turning into demons, and fucking, you know, and Brujeria, you know, talking about rape and murder and this and that. You know, Stryper, oh God, yeah, you know, talking about Jesus and loving him and being open and friendly and honest.
But you gotta see that metal, especially when it's heavy, it's more aggressive. It's more like, I listen to it to get like pumped up, you know, get pumped up, get my anger out, you know, get revved up. But when I hear like Christian, like stuff like that, I just can't get into it. Especially trying to be like Christian metal. Like I think it's too like it cancels each other out.
But what about To Hell with the Devil? I mean, they're saying go down to hell, devil, and it's metal.
Yeah, but I mean, as long as we can go with him and not to have to listen to their music, I'd rather go down to hell and jam to some Slayer than stay up here and hear some, you know, stuff like that, dude.
Man, yeah, see, I knew I was about to get a lot of shit for that one. But yeah, Stryper, to me, they're really underappreciated. I love Michael Sweet. The whole camp out there is fantastic. Love their playing, especially Sweet's voice. And I believe he's a lead guitarist of them as well. He can shred. But I definitely know what you're saying. You know, you go for metal for like an escape, you know, to get out aggression.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of hard to do that when you got the Lord watching over you.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Another one we have on this list, though, we have Blind Guardian. I believe they're Norwegian. I know they come from Europe.
Yeah.
But they're more of a power metal band. They sing about like Lord of the Rings stuff, witches, folklore. You know, kind of what Dio did with Rainbow. Kind of talking about like demon, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they're really mellow. They go hard, but I think they don't get a lot of credit is because of the content of what they sing about.
Yeah.
It's considered like nerdy metal.
Yeah.
But I really love them. Definitely give them a lot of props. If you haven't checked them out before, definitely do it. Definitely something. And the last band I want to mention is honestly a personal favorite of mine. I've been jamming them for a few years now. Volbeat. Do you have any thoughts on Volbeat?
I believe I've heard one song by them, but I can't be too sure. I don't want to sound stupid, but I believe they had one song on Tony Hawk, a game I used to play a lot when I was a kid. And I really liked it, but never really listened to them after that.
See, and that's definitely because you're a metalhead. I know that, and I didn't know that much about Volbeat. But yeah. I've been really following their career. Going back to King Diamond, they're from Denmark as well as King Diamond is, and they actually Volbeat and King Diamond. They won a Grammy together for Best Metal Performance a few years ago for their song called Room 24. And that was actually the first time King Diamond's been nominated for a Grammy, nominated for any kind of metal or recognized United States award for his performance. And the fact that Volbeat was a band that was able to help King Diamond achieve that, that really stood out to me, and that's what helped me really get into them. And also, they're really heavy. They're not traditional metal, so to speak. A lot of people do consider them just like rock, hard rock, but I honestly think they're metal. His voice sounds really unique, and they have a unique twist to their band. And their album that just came out this year, Seal the Deal. Probably one of my favorite albums of the year itself. Really stuck out to me. I loved every single track. Nothing was a dud. And I bought the bonus CD, which, you know, had like their outtakes and their, you know, their cut tracks, you know, from the album itself. And they have a song on there called The Bliss that, you know, that I really, really, really enjoy. And on the bonus CD, they actually did the chorus in Danish, their native tongue, which I honestly thought sounded a lot better, however you say it, than, you know, the actual album version itself.
Yeah.
So that's all we got for unappreciated bands. But going into that, keeping on the topic of underappreciated, under everything like that, we do have every month we will have a top 5 list. Me and my guests. And so today's top 5 list, I want to go in depth with. We'll start with Steven. He'll go in depth with his top 5 list of underappreciated songs. If you want to go ahead and kick that off.
Should I or?
You can do it. I mean, you could do from 5 to 1, 1 to 5, however you want to do it.
All right, so I'm gonna do it from 1 to 5 just because that's the way I wrote it out on accident. I don't mean like number 1 is like the top one, I think, but I think that "Sold My Soul" by Black Label Society is really like underrated. Doesn't get a lot of love. Mm-hmm. Every time I bring up, you know, Black Label or I look them up on YouTube, it's kind of hard for me to find that song. Not super hard, like impossible, but I mean, it's always covered with all their mainstream stuff. Mm-hmm. And I heard that song when I was a kid. I used to, of course, listen through my dad's music, and he had Black Label CDs, and that one really caught my attention because I love the lyrics and stuff, you know? Mm-hmm. Songs for me just aren't the way they sound. They're lyric-based for me. Another one that I think is Fear the Dark by Cradle of Filth, their cover. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy covers, but most of the time I can't enjoy them because people try to sound like the original band. Mm-hmm. What I like about this one is Cradle of Filth puts their own sound. They don't try to sound like Maiden. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I give them lots of props for that. Also, I think Devil Driver has a song called Devil Sun.
Yes.
One of my personal favorites. I bring it up, people are like, who? Or, never heard of that song, but I heard the band. I like that song. It's one of these songs I can just blast and just bang my head to.
I am the one.
Yeah, I mean, it's repetitive, but I mean, it just gets me pumped.
Fucking blast beats and everything, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I mentioned another one, Duran Gray, Obscure. That song, kind of ironic, I think is obscure. The few people that listen to Japanese metal that I talk to, they, of course, know Duran Gray. They know this song, but then they always bring up other songs they think obscure, but it's an obscure band, so
yeah,
you can't really argue with that. Lastly, I think the number one band that I've enjoyed since I was younger, maybe around the 2006 era when like Screamo was a big thing.
Yeah.
Nobody enjoyed it. I didn't really enjoy it, but it grew onto me. But there's a band, of course, that grew out of that old sound they have and develop a new sound. It's called Dr. Acula. I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah, I remember them, yeah.
They finally got their sound perfect and together. They sound more put together than they used to. And the song's called Cocaine Avalanche. It's about, of course, cocaine. But it's really heavy, really fast. It picks up. It slows down. Like you feel like you're having a coke trip.
What's
coke? You know what I mean.
Okay. Well, I don't do drugs, but I mean,
we don't do drugs, but I mean, the way the song's put together, it starts you off slowly, and then he talks about doing coke, you know, it starts to speed up, get heavy, and then there's the come down. It's a really good, well put together song that I feel should get more credit.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Acula themselves, I definitely agree with you, what you were saying earlier. I remember their early stuff when you were jamming them out, but I definitely got to check out a lot. I haven't kept up to date with them, but I definitely will check out that song for sure, which you guys should too, if you guys. All right, so for my list, I'll do the same since Steven did it, so he's not alone and doesn't cry.
Oh my God.
I'll go from 1 to 5. So for me, we were just talking about them. The one song I have is Soldiers Under Command by Striper. It is a song about soldiers following God's command and getting rid of evil. But no, like if you check it out, Soldiers Under Command, it's really, really, really fucking heavy. especially at the end, he has one of those, cliche 80s metal, screams at the end. The guitar solo is really well put together. Fantastic song overall. If you can get past the Christianity, so to speak, not bashing Christians or anything, but I know with metal music, it doesn't go hand in hand. But it is a really good song that I definitely recommend. The second one I have is a Judas Priest Metal Meltdown off of their Painkiller album. Of course, that album, everybody knows Painkiller, but the Metal Meltdown is kind of a deep cut of theirs. They rarely play it live, but when they do, it just opens with this super heavy, fast-paced guitar. Glenn Tipton and KK Downing, one of my all-time favorite guitarists ever. Greatest pairing made in heaven, and they let it rip on that fucking song. Another band we were actually talking about today is I have I Want to Be Somebody at number 3 by Wasp.
Yeah.
It's one of their earlier songs, and it's really good, really, really, really good. It has a really catchy chorus. They play it live. It's one of their staples from their live sets. It's just a great song all around. Definitely could get into it. It's a quick little jammer. At number 4, I have Let Us Slay by Gwar. Gwar is also one of those really underrated bands. They actually did a lot of great stuff back in their prime. I know since the passing of Odorous Ungerous, rip, rest in peace. Rip. I can't talk, I'm sorry. But no, Let Us Slay, it was one of their later songs. If you remember from that little game, Tap Tap Revolution or Evolution, song was actually on there. And that's where I first heard them, was on that little game.
Yeah.
But Let Us Slay, really fast-paced, really, really heavy, catchy chorus again. That's definitely what I like about a lot of these bands. They have really catchy stuff that doesn't catch on.
Yeah.
And then number 5, I have The Bliss by Volbeat. Volbeat, what they are well known for is a lot of their songs. There's a couple of their songs, one being a Lola Montez off the Hangman's Body Count album, or Outlaws.
Yeah.
Outlaw Gentlemen and Shady Gent, or Ladies, something like that. I'm all slurring my words. But The Bliss was off their latest album, and it really spoke to me. It really stood out to me on that album, one of my favorites off of there. Really reminded me about a lot of personal stuff and personal issues I've gone through this year. But really fantastic. And so that's the list. That's the list of the month. I want to start working on guitar riffs, music for the show.
You want me to bring my guitar in?
And there it is, the top 5 list. Underappreciated songs. Beep, 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 beep. Fucking medieval trumpet. Beep, 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 beep. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna find something and All Things Metal with David Claar. All hail his metalness.
Now arriving, David Claar.
Oh my god. Alright, so kind of winding down the episode today. Definitely appreciate again. What we have to look forward to next time is we'll definitely be setting out the next episode in December. We'll be doing about late December. Some things to look forward to. We were talking earlier about Avenged Sevenfold's new album. Their Warner Brothers is actually putting out a greatest hits album of Avenged Sevenfold. Now, I think they did that as a last-minute cash grab to kind of milk out the rest of Avenged Sevenfold, because they did really go through a really nasty legal dispute, throughout the entire year, which delayed the stage from actually coming out, and which is why they kind of threw the stage out there unannounced, because Warner Brothers did announce the Avenged Sevenfold album. But we'll definitely take a look at that. Definitely be keeping a close eye on the record sales of it, especially since the stage didn't do that good on their new label. So that's definitely something interesting that we will be getting into. And then also we're going to be going in a deep review of all the top albums of November that came out. Definitely look forward to the next episode, because we'll be reviewing Hardwired to Self-Destruct. We'll be reviewing Nikki Sixx's album. And we'll probably take a deeper look into what else is announced or coming out in December as well. So I definitely want to thank you, Steven, for coming out today. Really appreciate it. Really good friend of mine. Really big metalhead, too. definitely want to say I am really overwhelmed and thankful for a lot of the support that I've gotten for me starting this. I was honestly scared that this was actually going to start in January of 2017 because I had a lot of work to put into this. I want to make sure that it was really thorough, and I just wanted to make sure that it was well put together.
Yeah.
But definitely will be the quality of the videos and the podcast, the episodes, definitely will be increasing as time goes along. For right now, I do have a lot of people that are really anxious to start listening in and getting it out there. So definitely put a rush on this. Like I said, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, like the show on Facebook, All Things Metal with David Claar. Follow me on Twitter, All Metal DC. Follow me on Instagram, DClareIII. Definitely stay up to date with the show if you are a fan. Definitely appreciate it. But Steven, again, thank you so much for coming out. And thank you guys for tuning in to All Things Metal with David Claar. Stay fucking heavy.